Hello everyone and welcome to Grammar Lesson 4. Before we begin with the usual notes, I'd like to take a step back and look at the program from a distance. Let me show you an outline I'm putting together here. Okay, what you see here, the 4 levels of grammar. Level 1, parts of speech. We can see that there are 8 parts of speech. Level 2, parts of the sentence. We can see that there are 5 parts of the sentence. Level 3, phrases. We can see that there are 5 different phrases. And level 4, clauses. There are 2 different types of clauses that we'll be discussing. This brings up a point about the note keeping. Whenever you see the writing in red, it means that you do not need to be writing it down in your journal at this time. It's more for understanding. So in lesson 3, we spoke about nouns. And in lesson 4, we'll talk about the second part of speech, which is pronouns. So let's not waste any more time and let's head on over to the notes. We'll start with the pre-notes as we usually do. Okay, here we are. Let's begin the notes like we begin every time. At the top of the page, I want you to put the word date, a colon, and then today's date. Leave a space, followed by the word lesson, colon, and this is lesson number 4. Once again, you do not need to have a fresh sheet of paper. In order to do this, you could just use the date and the lesson number as a heading to carry on. Underneath that, I'd like you to skip a line and put the word pronouns. In parentheses, we're going to put P-R-O-N and then a colon. We'll be putting in a definition here. So we'll have a definition after pronouns here. I want you to skip 2 lines to leave room for that definition. I'm going to move my notes to the top of the page. Then I would like you to put this down. There are 2 teams of pronouns. I want you to put teams in quotation marks. There are 2 teams of pronouns. Beneath that, you'll have subject pronouns and object pronouns. Be careful with the formatting here. One does need to be on the left-hand side. This is important. Subject pronouns on the left and object pronouns over toward the right. Go ahead and underline both of those. Now, the last part of the notes here I'll show you so you can see where the finish line is, but don't worry about writing that down now. So hop back up to where we have pronouns, P-R-O-N in parentheses. Okay, so let's begin with the definition. Again, if I am writing, you are writing. So here we go. A pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun. A word that takes the place of a noun. I'm going to move that note to the top, and I will begin down below. Underneath subject pronouns, a little bit of more formatting here. I want you to write 2 words underneath subject pronouns, space them out a little bit. The first one is singular. Leave some space and put the word plural. And underneath object pronouns, I'd like you to do the same thing. Singular. And leave some space and put plural. Now, these are going to be subheadings, so let's go ahead and underline those as well so that it stands out from the rest of the text. And let's take a look at the idea of these being 2 different teams. So with teams in sports, each side has their own team, and each side has its own players, and those players play the same positions, but on different teams. Pronouns are the same. We have 2 teams. We have subject pronouns, and we have object pronouns. Then we have positions that can be played. We have singular positions, and we have plural positions. And then we have the actual players that play those positions. Okay, so let's take a look at some individual pronouns now. Underneath singular, put down I. I is a singular subject pronoun. The plural version of I is we. Go ahead and skip a line. Underneath that, I want you to put down the word you. That is the singular version of a subject pronoun. But it is also, in this case, how we do the plural. Go ahead and skip a line, and beneath that, put the last one. He, she, or it. And over here, put they. So once again, examples I think help best explain this. So let's take a look at the singular pronoun, the singular subject pronouns, and let's put them in a sentence. I went home. I could also say, we went home, if I was talking about more than one person, including myself. Down here, I could say, you went home. The reason that you works for both singular and plural is that when I say the sentence, you went home, it's impossible to know whether or not I'm talking about one person or a group of people. You went home. Down below, he, she, and it. We'll just use the example he, but you could plug in any of those three. He went home. If we were talking about him and all of his friends, we would put down the word they. They went home. That would be the plural. Over here on object pronouns, we can't use the same names in the object of a sentence. So let's define what a subject and a predicate is. This might be a review for some of you, but let's define it right now. Every sentence has a subject and a predicate. If it does not, it is not a sentence. The subject is what we are talking about, and the predicate is what we are saying about it. So in this first example sentence here, I said, I went home. If I were to draw a line between the subject and the predicate of the sentence, it would fall right here, between I and went. I would be on the left-hand side as the subject, what we are talking about, and went would be on the right-hand side as the predicate, what we are saying about it. I went home. If I were to draw the line in the second sentence, you went home, I draw between you and went, and if I were to draw the line for the third sentence, it would fall between he and went. Therefore, every word on the left-hand side is the subject of the sentence. If you notice, all of these pronouns, I, you, he, she, and it, are subject pronouns. That means that they can be the subjects of sentences. We could also use the plurals. We went home, you went home, and they went home. Those would also work for subjects because they are also subject pronouns. So let me give you the object pronouns now. The object pronoun in the singular form is me. The plural form is us. You will also work here on this side of the sentence for both singular and plural, and I'll explain that in a second. And the last one here, instead of saying he, she, or it, I have to say him, her, or it. It will work in both sides as well. Or if I wanted to make it plural, over here I said they went home, but if I wanted to use it as the object of the sentence in the predicate side, I could say I went home with, I can't say I went home with they, I have to say I went home with them. So let's take a look at this then. Some example sentences here. Me and us. So an example sentence might be, he went. Down underneath here, we have you and you. With I, us. He is the subject, went home is what we're saying about the subject. So I have to use us, the object pronoun. In this case, you is the object. It comes from the object pronouns, and we have no idea of knowing whether or not we're talking about one person or all of you. And finally, the last example down here for him, her, and it. He went home with them. You'll notice over here that we have used the plural object pronoun them. He went home with them. I can't say them went home with us. So we are almost done. We are down here. Go ahead and put this on your page if you have not already. First person, colon, skip a line. Second person, colon, skip a line. Third person, colon, skip a line. These are all talking about point of view. Point of view. Some of you gamers out there, especially you COD players, are going to recognize that first person and third person pop up all the time in gaming terminology. For example, if I were to go to Wikipedia right now, I would find this if I put Call of Duty in the search box. You will notice that Call of Duty, it says Call of Duty is a first-person and third-person shooter video game series franchise. First-person, third-person shooter video game. First-person and third-person. Here's what that means. So here we are. We're talking about first-person and third-person. If we're looking at Call of Duty and we're looking at first-person, this is first-person. I know it's first-person because if I were writing about the scene that I see right here, I would have to say something like, I took aim down the dark tunnel. The reason I would have to use the pronoun I is because I'm actually seeing out the eyes of the character. Over here, this is the third person point of view. Because if I were to write about this scene right here, I would have to say, the sniper crouched and he took aim. The pronoun he is a third person pronoun. The pronoun I is the first person pronoun. So let's head back to our notes. So the first person point of view uses first person pronouns. For example, I or we. The second person uses second person pronouns. You, and you. That one never changes. That one's pretty easy. The only time you're really going to see second person point of view in writing is when you're reading an instruction manual. For example, right now, I'm telling you what to do with your notes, so I'm using the pronoun you. This is what you should do. What you should put down for third person pronoun would be things like he or she. Okay? So there are singular versions of these and there are plural versions of these. So rather than write all these out again, let's go back to our original notes and we can change this right here into a chart. So what I want you to do over here next to I, we, me, and us is put first person. Next to you, and you, put second person. And finally, next to he, she, it, and they, him, her, it, and them, put third person. What we have here is this section of our notes from here to here, and from here to here, and from here to here, and here to here. This can be read as a graph, as a chart. So if I asked you, what is the first person singular object pronoun? You could say, well, that's easy. First person singular object pronoun would be me. Or if I said, what is the third person plural subject pronoun? Third person subject plural, it would be they. Now, do you need to memorize this? Absolutely not. At least not yet, anyway. You need to know how to use this information right now and from now on in your notes to find the answers that you need. So that's pretty much going to wrap us up for today. Before I close the notes, though, however, I'd like to make one more addition up here at the top. Right here, let's make a heading in this space. Let's put in the words personal pronouns. Personal pronouns. I'm going to underline that. Okay, all the pronouns that we took a look at today are personal pronouns, meaning they talk about people or things. There are lots of different pronouns out there in the world, some of which we will learn about in Lesson 5, the very next lesson. That's going to be it. I'll see you over at Lesson 5.